Hey everybody, how you doing? Chris Neidl, co-founder of OpenAir. In this video, I just want to kind of give you an overview of what OpenAir is all about for new members and existing members who still don't quite know. Most fundamentally, OpenAir is a volunteer network of people all over the world who come together and try to advance in different ways carbon dioxide removal, or what it's called for short, CDR. OpenAir has been around for a little bit. It was founded by a group of folks initially in New York City back in 2019. And in the years since, our membership has really become quite global. We have members on every continent where people live. And we like to think that OpenAir is really part of the broader family of climate action advocacy, which has folks that are obviously focusing on eliminating emissions and adaptation to inevitable change, and carbon removal is a key part of that, we believe. And it's the thing that we focus on within OpenAir. Again, solidarity between OpenAir and these other areas of climate action, but OpenAir is focused on advancing carbon dioxide removal. And what really inspired OpenAir as a model to create a volunteer network like this was the recognition that we have to take an enormous amount of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere in the coming decades and for the remainder of this century. And that's going to require an enormous effort. And there's many companies and organizations and government actors that are working on that right now. But what we think is that in order for this to be successful, there needs to be great infusions of creativity, of things that can accelerate or speed things up and get CDR to scale. And that is what our mission is to try to influence change to make CDR more creative, fast moving, and large scale. And to do that, we think in addition to all the different types of organizations and companies, et cetera, that are working on that, in order to be successful, we have to bring a lot more people in. We have to figure out ways that people who have different skills and interests and connections and time on their hands, how do we bring those folks in to actually be another dimension that's going to help carbon dioxide removal be more successful? And there are two approaches or models that we draw heavily on that are really at the basis of the whole open air idea. And one is open source. This is something you might have heard about from software primarily, but this is the idea that people voluntarily make things and in a transparent way, they make that available to whoever can see them. They share it with them. So it's non proprietary. They keep it completely open. So we're very much, as our name suggests, a open source inspired community. And the other idea or the other model that really inspires, which is related to open source, is what's called peer production or sometimes commons based peer production. And these are models that are largely driven by intrinsically motivated volunteers who collectively in a network do work and make things, again, on a voluntary basis in a distributed type of way. Now, these terms might be new to you, but the evidence or the output of these types of models are not new to you. So these types of models are very prolific in different domains and sectors throughout the world, from open source software and open source hardware, Wikipedia, different forms of citizen science like eBird and biohacking. So there's many different examples of this type of model, and we're applying this open source peer production model to the effort to accelerate carbon dioxide removal. Now, one of the interesting features of OpenAir compared to many other efforts or organizations that we're actually not really a formal organization. We don't have any organizational status. We're a platform through which people freely enter and participate. So there's no nonprofit status. We're not a company. And we also, by design, never and have no plans to actually have any paid employees. Everybody, including myself as one of the co-founders, do this all entirely on a voluntary basis. And maybe most significant, anyone can join, regardless if they're into carbon dioxide removal and they want to get to work. We try to keep that door wide open. So anybody can come in, participate, lurk, do whatever they want. It's a completely open, and the more people who come in with different diverse backgrounds, the better and more creative our community will be. And this also means that we're largely a digital entity or a virtual entity. And we primarily do all of our work and all of our connections on a handful of different platforms. Discord, which you might be watching this on right now, that is the main one where we all kind of get together, chat, meet each other, share information. We also have a discourse forum, which I'll make another video about. And discourse is a forum. So this is a place where people can really elaborate on ideas that can be developed over a long term. And then lots of Zoom calls. So anybody who's really working on things here that are really going, typically connect on Zoom or on GChat or StreamYard or other things like that. But those are the main platforms that we use to hang together as a community and get stuff done. And the idea is, and the aspiration is, which has really already come true and is becoming more complex all the time, is to use this model and to use these platforms to create as global of a network as possible that allows different people with little effort to find each other and collaborate on things. Now, what are those things actually? What do we actually do and how do we do it? One really important term to answer that question are what we call domains. And these are kind of general areas of activity that all of the different things that we're working on fall underneath. And I'll describe those in a second. But specific projects that actually fall underneath the domain, we call missions. And missions are, again, defined activities that groups of people within our community are working on to try to affect change in some type of way. And there, at present, are four different distinct domains of activity. The first is advocacy. These are when members of ours get together and maybe they're trying to advocate for a particular piece of legislation or a policy change. So this is activism. There's R&D, and this is a very vital part of our community since the very beginning. These are, makers, scientists, engineers, tinkerers getting together and collectively working on R&D missions. They're making things that take carbon out of the air. Then there's our knowledge and education domain, and these pertain to different types of missions that are really designed to sort of share information with the outside world as well as our community about carbon dioxide removal. What is it? What does it look like? Who's doing it? And then the last one is what we call activist business development or activist biz dev. And this is where you have members that are coming together and they're working together on either helping an existing CDR company achieve a goal, creating a business model, creating a pilot. So this is the more sort of entrepreneurial type of domain of our work. Just to illustrate what these types of missions can look like with specific examples, for instance, right now we have the California Dioxide Removal Market Development Act. That's a bill that we helped get introduced in California that supports CDR. And we have a lot of members in California and outside of California trying to make that law. So that's a really important advocacy mission currently. An example of one of our active R&D missions right now is Epiphyte, and this is an open source miniature direct air capture machine. So we have a great group of people working on that. They meet up once a week. You can take a look at their channel. An example of a knowledge and education mission that we have going, probably the most popular and well-known of among our missions, is This is CDR. This is a weekly webinar hosted by OpenAir members Toby Bryce and Mega Raghavan, in which they interview and talk to CDR innovators and startup CEOs about what they're working on. That's a great example. Check it out. And an example of an activist business development mission that we're very proud of and excited to see progress is the Naka Valley Biochar Project. And this is a pilot business model that we've developed with members in a refugee camp in Uganda to help really scale biochar. So that's just an example of an activist business development mission. So that is OpenAir in a nutshell. A lot more to discuss about that. You can come on in and ask us questions within our Discord or reach out. But we hope you will join us, and we hope that you can find a place to make a contribution based on your interest and your time. Thank you so much.